Morning!
Morning.
Good morning, Eastern North Carolina, and good afternoon to our listeners tuning in from West Africa.
Yes.
You're listening to your favorite weekend trio. You're listening to Pitt Perspectives right here on Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM WECU. I am Victor Ihuka. Victor Ihuka, not Ihuka. Yeah, Victor Ihuka. And as always, I'm joined by my partly amazing, most times annoying co-hosts, AY and Patrick. How you doing, fellas? How y'all doing?
Yep. Good morning, Pitt County. I'm feeling good this morning. This is AY Ayodeji on the mic this morning, and the sun is out, summer's coming, and we've got another powerful conversation lined up for you this morning, and we can't wait to dive in. Patrick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one to the two to the three.
Yeah,
Say
it's
it,
Patrick
do it.
once again, and it's amazing to be in studio today. It's a great Saturday morning. The sun's out. It looks amazing. And before we get into it, we just want to give a big shout out to everyone listening across
Yeah.
Pitt County and from Aden to Bethel, Winterville to Grifton and beyond. Whether you're driving, relaxing, tuning in online, we are glad you're here. Welcome everybody.
Yeah,
Welcome.
yes. And this morning's conversation is one that really speaks to our hearts and purpose here at Pitt Perspectives. But first, it's time for our top community news recap, brought to you by our friends at Carolina Arthritis Center, your
Yeah.
partners in health and movement. Hey, one time for Carolina Arthritis Center. Yes, top community news recap. AY, take
All
it
right,
away.
so let's get to it. The first news I have here this morning says Richard Tyndall named Greenville Police Chief.
Greenville has
Oh,
officially appointed Richard Tyndall as its new chief of police. A lifelong resident and 2 decade veteran of the Greenville Police Department, Tyndall has served in nearly every supervisory capacity and was previously acting chief. He's a proud graduate of both East Carolina University and the FBI National Academy. City Manager Michael Cowen praised Tyndall's integrity and experience, saying he was the clear choice to lead the department into the future. Tyndall shared his gratitude and emphasized his commitment to public service, safety, and transparency in the community he's always called home. A public swearing ceremony will take place on Monday at 11 a.m. in City Hall. Greenville residents are invited to attend and show support as Tyndall begins this next chapter in city leadership.
yes. All right, so the next news says leadership shifts in Pitt County schools.
Yes, several Pitt County schools are undergoing leadership changes this summer. Jennifer James, principal of Innovation Early College High School, will move into a district-wide role as director of K-12 curriculum and instruction. Casey Hyatt will take over her current role, bringing a strong background from aiding Grifton High. Kirby Mains, a familiar face in the district, will become the new principal at Aiden Grifton, and Alison Covington will step into leadership at Sogbondi Elementary in Farmville. All four leaders bring deep experience and a commitment to innovation, equity, and student success. These changes reflect Pitt County's ongoing investments in quality leadership. Additional announcements are expected as the district continues to fill vacancies ahead of the fall semester.
All right, the next news says Fifth Street's roundabout nears completion.
Yes, downtown Greenville is seeing major changes as the long anticipated Fifth Street roundabout nears completion. The intersection at West Fifth and Albemarle Avenue is expected to open this week. New sidewalks, lighting, and landscaping are part of the $48.5 million build grant aimed at connecting West Greenville with ECU. Um, yes,
Yeah.
city leaders say the new roundabouts will improve traffic flow and pedestrian safety. Um, we'll be
We'll have
back
to go on a
on
break.
Awesome
Yeah,
Radio after the break. See you.
go nowhere. Yep.
Hi, my name is Tracy. Thank you for listening to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU.
Celebrating Juneteenth, Wednesday, June 18th from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at 252 Main Street, Winterville. It's Market on the Square in Winterville. Vendors, food trucks, games, music. Help Winterville celebrate Juneteenth on Wednesday, June 18th, 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at 252 Main Street, Winterville. Visit the Winterville Chamber at wintervillechamber.com/MOTS. Market on the Square. We're going to have a great time at the Juneteenth celebration Wednesday, June 18th at 252 Main Street from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Winterville. A slice of the good life.
Yes, welcome back, welcome back,
Welcome back.
welcome back. Yes, just before we went on that break, we were giving you a rundown of the top community news recap presented by Carolina Arthritis Center, your partner in health and movement. And just before then, we were talking about Fifth Street roundabout nears completion. Yes, city leaders said the new roundabout will improve traffic flow and pedestrian safety. During a public forum last week, residents had a chance to see renderings and hear about the broader plan, which includes major upgrades throughout the city center. Though some closures will continue into June, city officials are urging patience, noting the end result will benefit the entire community. Dickinson Avenue construction is also underway and expected to continue throughout the summer.
All right. So, Pitt Community College Visions program celebrates high school seniors.
Yes, Pitt Community College Visions program honored 86 high school seniors from 6 area schools who are preparing to graduate and take their next steps. The program, which helps students stay on track academically and access college or careers, has now supported more than 1,200 students since it began nearly 20 years ago. Students were recognized for high GPAs, personal growth, and excellence in college level courses. Standard graduate Sedina Tiam of JH Rose earned the academic MVP award with a 3.82 GPA. Several students were also awarded scholarships and job training support. Vision staff encourage students to keep striving forward, whether they are enrolling at PCC, entering the workforce, or joining the military. The celebration underscored the importance of mentorship, resilience, and access to opportunity in shaping future success.
All right. So, Sunday in the Park returns to Town Commons and Wildwood Park.
Yes, Greenville's beloved summer tradition, Sunday in the Park, kicks off June 1, that's tomorrow, at the Town Common with music from the Tar River Community Band. Additional shows will be held June 15 and June 29. This year, the fun continues into the fall with a new concert series at Wildwood Park beginning in September. Organizers say the expanded series helps promote community connection, local music, and access to the arts. Bring your lawn chairs and enjoy food trucks, vendors, and lively entertainment that's fun for the whole family. These free events are part of Greenville's ongoing efforts to bring people together in vibrant public spaces. The city encourages residents to attend and experience the best of summer in the park.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Right. All right. Orientation opened at Pitt Community College.
Yes, Pitt Community College is encouraging all incoming students to register for new student orientations. Student sessions cover financial aid, housing, academic advising, and offer campus tours to help students feel prepared for their first semester. The next available dates are June 24 and 26 and July 8 and 10. Orientation plays a key role in student success, offering a jump start on everything from course selection to meeting fellow students and advisors.
Yeah, in other
With the fall semester starting August 15, now is the time to get on track. Students can register at pcc.edu or contact the Advising Center for more information. Orientation is free and designed to make the college experience smooth and welcoming for all.
Okay, and now moving on to
Yeah.
other news, we have Dr. Maria Four reflects on first year at Pitt Community College.
Yes, Dr. Maria Fur, president of Pitt Community College, has completed her first full academic year and is celebrating several key accomplishments. More than 2,500 students graduated this year, and the college is working closely with local leaders to meet emerging workforce needs, including, including housing development and skilled labor. In a recent interview, Dr. Farr emphasized the importance of staying responsive to both students and the local economy. Under her leadership, PCC has expanded access to high impact programs, focusing on upward mobility and career readiness. She also voiced support for Propel NC, a new state funding model aimed at ensuring sustainable growth for North Carolina's community colleges. Dr. Farr called on state lawmakers to fully fund the model and help institutions like PCC continue their life changing work.
Yeah, we also have frogs collecting suggestions for bike racks.
Yes, Friends of Greenville Greenways, better known as Frogs, is asking the public where they'd like to see new bike racks installed across the city's greenways. A few new racks are already on the way for Elm Street Park, but community feedback will help shape future placements. Frogs board member Catherine Dale says the goal is to make it easier for residents, especially families, to bike to local parks, green spaces, and community events. They want to support a culture where cycling is a true transportation option. Residents can share their ideas directly on the Frogs Facebook page. The initiative is part of broader efforts to improve accessibility and encourage more outdoor recreation in Greenville. Interestingly, I think the two of you own bikes, right?
Yeah.
So if you're yeah, to say suggest places to put bike racks in the greenway, where would that be?
Oh man, I'm probably the wrongest person to ask this question because I'm not doing my bike in probably almost a year now.
Yeah, if,
So,
I mean Patrick rides his bike even in his sleep. I can see him in school, like trudging to somewhere.
I mean, that's
Yes, yeah. Let's take it away, Patrick.
yeah.
Yeah, I think this one is a nice one. It brings awareness to June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month.
Yes, the Alzheimer's Association of Eastern North Carolina is marking June with webinars and activities to raise awareness about dementia and support those affected. Events will focus on early warning signs, healthy brain habits, and care resources. A statewide fundraiser, the longest day, will take place June 20th with creative activities and local events. One community highlight is the line dance and ice cream social happening June 19 at the Pitt County Council on Aging. The event is free and open to all, aimed at both fun and education. To join in or learn more, visit alz.org/ENC monthly programs. Visit alz.org/ENC monthly programs or call 800-272-3900. 800-272-3900. It's a great opportunity to support brain health and connect with others working toward better outcomes for families across Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, and then moving on, we have Wintergreen Elementary hosts senior walk to inspire young students.
Yes, graduating seniors from Pitt County Schools took a heartfelt walk down memory lane this week as they returned to Wintergreen Elementary for the annual senior walk. The visit gave younger students a glimpse of what's possible, with second and fifth graders cheering on the cap and gown clad seniors. If they did it, we can do it too, said fifth grader Cassin Bunting. Seniors like Chance Frederick and Julian Lee, who met in kindergarten at Wintergreen, said it was a full circle moment to walk the horse where their school journey began. Teachers say the event is more than symbolic, it's motivational. With nearly 15% of North Carolina high schoolers not graduating on time, Wintergreen educators believe showing students what the finish line looks like helps build perseverance. They are just in elementary school, but in 7 or 8 years, they'll get to do this too, said teacher Krista Bunting. Seniors also saw the event as a chance to give back. You're starting here, said graduates, hurry up, but one day you'll get there. For many, the walk was a reminder that every dream has a starting point. Every dream has a starting point. Yes, let's see how much we can get in before the break.
Oh well, at least you can give you the next headline. ECU baseball tops Florida 11-6 in NCAA regional opener.
Yes, shout out to ECU baseball. Yes, ECU baseball tops Florida 11-6. We'll take that news after we get back. We're still on Awesome Radio.
Hello, my name is Daniel out of Greenville. Thank you for listening to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU.
Connecting hearts, uniting generations. That's what grandparents are all about. Here's Dr. Ken Canfield for Grandkids Matter.
Isn't it incredible that our grandkids are into things that we never could have dreamed of when we were their age? I'm all for introducing grandkids to the simple pleasures of life that we knew and enjoyed: board games, hobbies, taking a walk, and so on. But there's also some room for us to move into their world. If your grandkids' interests are foreign to you, make the effort to learn about that on your own so you can encourage them and talk with them on their level. They'll be greatly affirmed when they see you stretched and made the effort to learn something new so you could connect with them. Grandparenting is an incredible adventure. Thank you for doing your best with your grandkids.
Yes, welcome back. Welcome back. We're still live on Awesome Radio Network, and it's still Pitt Perspectives, and we're still rounding up our top community news recap presented by Carolina Arthritis Center, your partner in health and movement. Just before we went on that break, we had this news: ECU baseball tops Florida 11-6 in NCAA regional opener. The East Carolina Pirates delivered an impressive performance Friday, taking down 17th ranked Florida 11-6 to open NCAA regional play in Conway, South Carolina. Sophomore pitcher Ethan Nobby led the charge, giving up just 2 runs over more than 7 innings while striking out 10 with 0 walks. Nobby's 116 pitch effort gave the Pirates a strong foundation, and the Bats came alive with a 15 hits game to support the win. Freshman Austin Earlby shined offensively, going 4 for 5 with a double, a home run, and 3 RBIs, just a triple shy of the cycle. The Pirates' momentum now carries them into Saturday night's showdown against the winner of the Fairfield versus Coastal Carolina matchup. A win there would send ECU to its sixth straight regional final, continuing their postseason tradition and giving Pirate Nation plenty to cheer about.
Yeah. And then finally, yeah.
G-U-S-C. Yes.
Yeah, moving on, we have Greenville United FC prepares for a showdown against T Road FC.
Yes, so in the final news of the day, Greenville United FC prepares for showdown against Tobacco Road Football Club. Greenville United FC is back at home on Tuesday, June 3rd, for a crucial match against Tobacco Road FC, Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. at John Paul II Catholic High School Stadium. After a dramatic recent home win and a surge in fan support, the Bucks are looking to build on their momentum. Fans are encouraged to arrive early for the pregame festival beginning around 4:30 p.m., featuring music, food, and family-friendly fun. It's a perfect way to support local soccer and community spirit. With the stands expected to be packed, Greenville United is calling on every voice. One team, one city, always united. GUFC. Yeah, so I'm actually planning to have us, you know, teach the fans some chants, this Tuesday. Maybe we'll start with, we've not won anything yet. If we do champion, champion, ole, ole, ole. Yeah, we can do sha la 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 la. GUSC. That's simple too, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
yeah.
And the
There's-
interesting thing about the chants is I feel like here they don't sing along. They don't.
I mean,
chant.
that's what
Even
we're
I
trying to
remember even
change.
when we went for a big, like a really big match
Mhm.
in Raleigh, it
Mhm.
was they had the people who were
Mhm.
chanting in one section
Mhm.
and they were the only ones singing for the most part.
Yeah.
But when you watch football
In
say,
Europe, right? Yeah.
the entire stadium is singing.
Yeah,
The
it's
entire- and
wild.
the atmosphere is different.
It's what I mean.
So,
It's
yeah.
like a religion in other places. It's
Yeah.
religion in other. And that's what we're planning to change. Actually, that's what we're planning to change. So Tuesday, we'll be there. Cheering Greenville United to victory.
Yeah.
Yes. That's all we have on the top community news recap.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so you can read the full stories and summaries on our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages. Now let's get into it. Today's Pitt Perspectives conversation.
Yes, this week on Pitt Perspectives, we are exploring the power of place, how geography shapes our lives. We want to hear from you, our community. How has where you live shaped your career, your health, or your identity? As always, you can call us live in the studio at 252-756-2008, and let's have this conversation together. What do you
Yes.
think, fellas?
When you hear geography, the first thing that comes to your mind
Yeah,
is maps.
yeah, that's an interesting
But the truth
thing
is,
too.
geography is not just about maps. It's about meaning.
Yep.
And where we live can actually,
Yeah,
affect.
I mean, story of our lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it can
that's-
change a whole lot of things. It can affect job opportunities we see, the schools we attend, and even our mental or physical health. And this is actually very important, and that's why we're talking about it today. So just thinking about how rural areas sometimes lack, for example, healthcare access,
Yeah.
or how being near a university like ECU can open doors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's and for many of us in Pitt County, geography also means legacy. Small towns with deep roots. Faith communities that shape our values and local businesses that define our economy. But it also means barriers like transportation, broadband access, and housing challenges that impact how we grow. for
Yeah,
example.
I think it's fascinating when you think about geography in those terms. And like you said earlier, when people hear geography, the first thing that comes to mind is maps. But geography goes much more than maps. I mean, there's,
you
I
know
mean,
that.
even, yeah, I mean,
You have a
yeah.
degree- you have a
Yeah, I
master's
have a
degree.
master's degree in geography, so I guess. Yeah, it's interesting too because I mean there are all these different aspects to geography. I mean, there's physical geography, there's cultural geography, political geography, I mean, even health geography. So, and I mean, it's timely too because in the broader world, generally, I mean, around the world, immigration has become like a big deal. It's become a huge part of the conversation. And I guess something people don't realize is how where people are born, at least for a start, shapes their lives. I even learned how I think it was Dr. Ziga's development economics class, how countries that are landlocked, find it difficult to access resources,
I think
than
there is a landlocked country inside South Africa.
yes.
Lesotho.
Lesotho, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. So imagine the difficulty in moving things. I mean, you wouldn't think these things matter, but
Yeah.
being, around the water body means you have access to stuff. I mean, even here, the geography of this place affects the opportunities. In my MPA degree, I did a project on food deserts. So apparently, there are places that are I mean, I think some parts of this place too are considered food deserts where you don't have access to healthy food options, within a certain radius. So, geography is a very interesting thing. And, for some other people, you know, geography could mean place, and place could mean resilience, growing up in a small town with limited resources, but finding a way to dream big. Or maybe it's about community, neighbors who check in on each other, the cookouts, the church events, the front porch talks that raised you. Think about how where you live has shaped your values, your voice, your vibe. Did your hometown make you who you are? Did moving somewhere new change your perspective? Or are you still figuring out what home means for you? Like I said earlier, call in on 252-756-2008 and let's talk about it. Your story might be just what someone else needs to hear this morning. And then if you're more of a writer than a talker, shoot us an email at hello.pitperspectives@gmail.com. We'll share your thoughts on a future show. So this is more than a conversation. Anyway, I wanted to get back to how where you live, could shape your values and your voice and your vibe, Um,
Yeah.
you wanted to say
Yeah,
something?
you mentioned resilience
Yeah.
earlier when you were talking, and it just reminds me of we coming all the way from across the Atlantic.
Bro.
It takes a whole lot to
People don't realize it. Yeah, people do not
and
realize how difficult it is. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
and it
ahead.
was going to lead me into what I'm going to say next. I'm
Okay.
talking about the emotional side of things.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get probably into details of that when we get back from the
Yeah,
break. But
yeah.
just before we go, I just wanted to mention that the emotional side of things is also part of what geography shapes.
Yeah.
For some folks, place is about where where they feel seen and how feel safe too. So these are some of the things I'll talk about when we get back.
Yeah,
from this
we're
break.
still here live on Awesome Radio Network, and it's still Pete Perspectives with your favorite crew. See you after the break.
I am Miss Mary Cox. I'm Killer Thigpen's mother from Awesome Radio.
From the Pacific Justice Institute, this is The Legal Edge, defending your rights as a Christian, a parent, and a citizen. Here's Brad Dacus.
With Pride Month just weeks away, many Christians in the workplace and public schools are already feeling the pressure. Well, at PJI, we regularly support clients who face hostility for simply living out their beliefs in June. So how should Christians respond during this time? With courage, grace, and a clear understanding of our rights. If you or someone you know feels pressured to compromise your convictions, PJI is here to help with no charge for our services. Visit pji.org for resources and legal assistance. And most importantly, please be praying.
Learn more about our ministry and get exclusive email updates by registering for the Legal Insider at pji.org. Remember the website, pji.org.
Yes, welcome back to Awesome Radio, and we're still here live on Pete's Perspectives. We're having a very interesting conversation about geography and how it shapes our lives and our values. AYU started on some
Yes,
very
so
interesting thing there.
I was going to talk about how place, determines or affects, how people feel seen or feel safe or even inspired, and where you live or where you grow up or all those things, they shape your identity to start
Right.
with. So I was talking about we coming all the way from across the Atlantic and how the amount of resilience it takes,
Right.
or the amount of sheer will it takes for you to leave everything behind and
Yeah, man.
try to get a degree or try to get an education, as it were. It says a whole lot, and this is something that geography also built into us, because there is a level of toughness, if I may use that word, that growing up where we grew up builds into you as a person, and then that's what informs largely decisions like this, deciding to move and all of that,
Right.
leaving your family behind and all this. There's this strength, there's this resilience that it builds into you. And also I was also talking about how you feel safe, for example, where you are on a large note determines how you feel safe, really. There are some areas, and I'm not going to try to mention any place now, just to avoid that, but like there are parts of the world where you'll probably be there and you'll be like, I don't know if I'm safe enough,
I
right?
mean, it's wild actually.
Uh-huh.
Just to cut you in, I think there is a thing where they had to talk about the most peaceful parts of the world to like the most violent. Like there are places where every single day you must hear say some gunshot or some bomb go off or some I can't even imagine something like that. But
So
go
these are
ahead.
some of the things. That geography gives sense of safety. Sometimes
Right.
you know that in this area or this side of the world, I feel a bit safe, right?
Right.
In some places, and of course, the way you feel inspired too. So I was going to also talk about I mean, coming from Africa, there are stories in Africa that are that are very, very interesting, and then it inspires a lot of the things that we do.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
And for example, even the approach to talking here, even the jingles, everything.
How do you mean?
I mean, I'm talking about for example, the
right,
jingles.
right.
Inspired by some the feel.
Geography,
Do you
right?
understand? You can feel there's that sense of culture you feel, and that's what we talk about on Pitt Perspective, talking about
Yeah.
stories, culture, inspiring community, and all those things. So the geography inspires that sense of community, that
Right.
space, that safety, and all those things. that I
So
talked
let me
about
let me ask you all directly, and Patrick, you can also take the lead on this. How has growing up in Nigeria, AY, or Lagos? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, partly in Lagos and partly in
Okay,
Ibadan, yeah.
so growing up in partly Lagos, partly Ibadan, and you growing up in where did you-
Johannesburg.
Johannesburg. So how did that place shape your outlook to life, and the way you all see the world, your perspectives and all that, and then moving down here now in specifically Eastern North Carolina, how has this geography here, and I mean, like we said earlier, geography is really everything around the culture, around the place, both physical, cultural, and all that. How has that shaped how you all live and all?
Oh, yeah, I
What do you
mean,
think? Yeah, I know
well,
you,
for me, it's
half asleep.
no, I'm not. So for me, it's well, it is true that geography shapes your life for the most part, and all the opportunities you get, for example, are very related to where you're from and the area that you're in, right? So, not to mention resources, right?
Right.
Countries with minerals and all that.
Yeah, that's too.
Yeah,
That's
countries,
That's a
minerals.
big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a
Or
big deal.
say a Zimbabwe that has what Victoria Falls, and that's their biggest tourist attraction.
Cultural, yeah.
Exactly. So it's about geography plays a big role in the environment and all that. Not to mention the U.S. having what is it, the third biggest country in the world? Because
Is it?
it's Russia, China, then U.S.
You
right?
mean by landmass?
By
or what?
landmass, yeah, and all that. So
Interesting.
you see, so like uh, geography shapes a lot.
Right. So, but like, how aside from like the physical aspects, how has growing up in Johannesburg, what things can you think about and say, oh, okay, I think like these, or
Yeah.
this is.
I was coming to
what?
that. I was
Okay.
coming to that. So this isn't very positive, but
Okay.
it's
Yeah, I mean,
I mean there's good and bad for every
it's-
place,
it's
right?
South Africa, you're.
No, there's good and bad for every place, right?
I'm
And
kidding.
there's a lot of good in South Africa, but there's also a bit of negatives. And one of the thing is, being always cautious and careful
Oh, okay.
everywhere you go, right? There's that sense of awareness,
Hmm.
which I don't have when I'm here because it's a bit more relaxed. Like
That's
the pace of
interesting.
life is more slower as
Here?
opposed to yes,
Oh, okay.
as opposed to back home where when you're walking,
That is
you have to be, aware and all that.
that is
And
wow, interesting. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and for that, I would say it has brought this sense of awareness that I'm always like, where am I? Looking at my surroundings,
Mhm.
thinking, hey, this is, I'm just like when I walk into a place, I'm looking around, I'm saying, okay, I see the door, I see the windows, the people, like I
Right.
observe the area just because of how I grew up. Like
Right.
you always have to be aware of your
Mhm.
surroundings, and
That's
that's
interesting. So
mhm,
before I pass it on to you, AY, I wanted to speak to what he said.
mhm,
So you know how I think I probably shared this with you. Growing up where we grew up in Nigeria, there's this is sad. It's it's sort of negative, but I mean, hey, we about speaking the truth.
yeah,
So you can't leave your valuable belonging out in the open. There is always this sense that someone could move it, pick it up and all. And people have this understanding that, oh, if it was in the US, you could leave your stuff and nobody would take it, because the idea is that
it
you
depends
know
what.
I mean, there's that apparently
Yeah,
It
now.
depends
I
where in
mean,
the
think
US.
about it, like for anybody that hasn't ever left Nigeria or that hasn't ever been to the US, the understanding, the perception of the US is, when people talk about on Twitter, insaner climbs, right? When they think about these places, insaner climbs, but it was fascinating to come down here and see people who maybe can't even leave their iPad or their laptop out in the open because
Yeah.
they think, oh man, someone could
Someone's going
steal this. So to
Yeah.
even think about how that plays out, that oh, here in the US, wow, people are still
Humans will
paranoid,
be humans.
right? But
Anything is
then and
anything.
then to sort of reconcile that with our, I guess, understanding or perceived understanding of what the US looks like, I think
Yeah.
it's interesting. So yeah, how about yourself? Do you feel
Yeah. So
that sense of
I I I really do not want to go. I mean, too
go
much
do it,
into
do it?
what you guys just said, but
Yeah,
I'll just put it out there that humans are going to be humans everywhere in the
right,
world,
right,
and wherever you think you are from or you are, there are bad people there, and I mean
definitely,
there are bad people everywhere. But yeah, talking about how my own geography and my place has shaped the way I see the world.
right,
Um, Leaning to what Patrick said about being careful, I think for me to be the sense of urgency that I feel in terms of moving. So, and I've said this too many times on this show about how there's a lot of traffic in Lagos, and if you have to be somewhere that, for example, if I have to be here by 9 a.m. to
mm-hmm.
start the show, I'll
Come
probably
by
leave my
3
my
a.m.
my I'll probably leave my house at least 2 hours before then,
Wow,
so that
that's
I
wild.
don't get in late because Lagos traffic is not smiling.
That
You get.
is wild.
So that's that sense of urgency. If you're going somewhere, you have to be up early, make sure you're there. But here it's a bit like Patrick said, a bit more relaxed. But then again, there's also the aspect of, so Patrick was talking about being careful.
Right.
Well, for me too, when I'm here, I try to be as careful as I can.
Hmm.
So what I'm going to say is, in Lagos, for example, wielding a weapon,
Mm-hmm.
for example, is totally illegal. You
Yeah,
can't
but people
wield
do it though.
weapons. Rarely.
Oh yeah.
Really, yes.
Oh okay, okay. I see
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
here it's, I mean, you can
Yeah,
have
it's
weapons,
legal
people
to
have, do you
own
understand?
weapons
So
and stuff.
here in Lagos, if somebody, says something you don't like, you can respond and say, okay, what are you saying? Like,
Yeah, you
are
can even fight
give the
like
person a piece of your
folks.
mind,
Yeah,
right?
folks
But
like
here,
get physical, sort of.
if you get into an argument with someone,
You have to think about.
bro, you have to be careful because I mean, I don't want to
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you
get it.
mean.
You
I
understand?
see what you
You are on the football field and somebody annoys you, and instead of you saying
Yeah,
what's
you
on your
pick up a
mind, you
weapon or
want to go get a
something.
weapon. That's different
You're
from
talking from experience. So. Are
That's-
you admitting to
you know,
something?
that's different from where I come from.
Right,
so,
right, right,
So
right,
that
right.
that helps me to wants me to want to be a bit more careful around
Right.
people even here, because I don't know who is holding a weapon, right? And that's geography too. in this sense.
Yeah, it's interesting too, and I think just from hearing your talk, I'm thinking about how some of the habits sometimes, I mean, even habits of thoughts, you know, could be shaped by, say, geography, where
Yeah.
people grew up or where they landed, So, I mean, being here, I can also see how my mindset sort of has shifted. Because think about it, if you are in a place that doesn't have really, I mean, it's all relative. If you are in a place with scarce resources, there is typically a lot of competition for the scarce resources. So one of the features of those places, and all of this is economics too, is people think about things in terms of zero sum. They think, oh, okay, so for someone to get this, that means someone else has to lose. So when people start thinking in those terms, you know, every encounter, every interaction is loaded. You know, people are always looking to sometimes employ sinister means to achieve, you know, their goals. But I find that here, more often than not, people, I mean, some people would say otherwise, but in my experience, people are more willing to help you succeed. You know, people are more willing to encourage you towards something, you know, because for the most part, I know people would say there are, you know, underprivileged people out here, but for the most part, it looks different here than like back home. You know, I mean, it's sad. Anybody that, you know, reads any development economics literature would find out that in a lot of places in Asia and Africa, there are folks who have to live on less than $1 a day, you know, and being in that sort of situation is wild. You know, I have to explain to people how, I mean, as bad as people, you know, think it's everywhere. I mean, that wasn't my experience, because I mean, think about it. If I had to live on less than $1 a day, there's no way being here would be a possibility, because
Yeah, you wouldn't make it.
it's closed off. Or I mean, that's the reality. Like, it's closed off. So it's a spectrum. You know, it's a spectrum. You know, and then, I mean, I also read that there are folks in Africa that are richer than folks in the US.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? But you know, for a lot of people, they can't even fathom that.
Interestingly, talking about, and I'm trying as much as I can
No,
to
say
avoid
it.
a lot of comparisons, but
Say
talking
it,
about
that's-
people, you know, in Africa being richer. To start with, for anyone to be able to afford to move all the way
Well, there's that too.
from Africa to the United States says a lot about the
Yeah, it's a
person's
big deal. Yeah, it
financial,
is.
you know, capacity as well
The
a
amount of
whole.
loan they're
And
able to
the
take.
interesting thing also is that most of those in the moving and everything that goes into that is not credits. Because
Yeah,
we don't
that-
do
we
much
don't-
of
we don't
credit.
even have
Do you
any- we
understand?
don't
Much
have a
of- we
credit
don't do-
system.
Yeah, we don't do much of credit back home, right?
We don't do it
a
at
lot
all.
Of, a lot of
Nah,
people
that's-
are, whatever you see most Africans do is cash based, like they are
Yeah,
paying
in the
upfront,
moments,
they are
yeah.
paying in, in
Yeah,
cash, right?
yeah.
So it's that's just to show you again that, you know, the sense of thinking that, you know, everybody in Africa is poor is not true, because for you to even be able to come here in the first place,
Yeah, I mean,
there's no credit card that's going
but
to
I mean,
pay for
it's
your
all
movement to
relative
start
too,
with.
though. When you say poor, you know,
Right,
it's all
so
relative.
there is no credit card that is going to pay for your immigration. You have to pay with your money, right? So
Or
that's another thing
or
to think
borrow
about.
money.
And then you come down here and you say, I mean, there's a interesting, very, very, you know, thriving credit system
yeah.
that supports you and all of
Yeah.
that. So, you know, that's another thing you find different when you get here.
Right.
It begins to shape the way you think too, begins to shape the way you perceive life, coming
Yeah,
from the
that-
angle that before you think, oh, I need to get the money to get this thing done.
Right.
But then when you come down here, you be like, okay, I can actually get this thing done
On credit.
and
Right.
then pay back later, which is, you know, difference in
Yeah,
terms of what
it
geography
is.
offers.
It is.
Right. So
It
yeah.
is. Yeah, I mean, even just thinking about that too. I mean, and I say this all the time. One of the things that blew my mind in economics, you know, talking about geography, was how when I found out the mystery of capital, you know, so I read this book, you know, during the development economics class to find out that some of the world's poorest people have incredible assets. So, like in Africa, for instance, land is a really huge deal. But the challenge is that it's difficult to convert those assets to capital. So, think about how back home, your house is pretty much just a house. But here, your house is your mailing address. You know, you get mails. You know, if you own a house, you can go to the bank with the title. I mean, it's verifiable that this is your house. I mean, if you do any GIS thing, once you check a parcel of land on the GIS platform, You can find out the owner or who else has been, all of those things, and this is a function of, I guess, decades or probably even centuries of, you know, laws, property laws and all that. But in some parts of the world, you could buy a land and 2 years later, someone else shows up with like documents like, hey, they bought this land 5 years ago and you're locked in a court battle. You see what I mean? It's easier to, I mean, set up businesses here. I mean, think about how everybody's sort of like a content creator now on some level. You can literally have a one person LLC here, register a business in your name, Patrick Mbaya LLC, register, pay your things, and even have access to, I mean, if you're from here, like maybe a citizen, have access to micro
I was going to
credits.
get into that.
No, I was talking, I mean, like, being a citizen here versus like being a citizen back home, how the system is so different on a lot of, levels. It's difficult to do something like that back home, for a host of different reasons. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say it's difficult to do things like that. For example, starting a business. I feel
Okay.
like it's even very easy to
How
start
so?
a business in say Nigeria, for example, because when it comes to the regulatory aspect of things,
Yeah, you don't
Okay.
need a certificate
I
for
mean,
every little
you just
thing.
need CAC corporate that's CAC's Corporate Affairs Commission.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
you just need a CAC
Okay.
certificate and you are up. In fact, there is not much stringent
Regulations
barriers to
to
getting in.
entry.
So
Okay.
once you
But it
register,
depends on the business too, though. But
yeah, but I mean, what I would say is the major barrier for starting business in Nigeria is probably capital, like you mentioned.
which
But
is
in
a big
terms
deal,
of
though.
the ease of starting something, I think it's very easy. There are a lot of people who do businesses, and I mean even SMEs, small and medium scale businesses in
Enterprises,
Nigeria.
yeah.
A lot of all of that, going on in Lagos, for
Right,
example. It's
right.
a very, very commercial city. People are starting businesses every day. Like
Right.
I have friends who have registered companies, and I'm like, you are also a CEO of a company. I'm like, yeah, this is what I do. And some of those companies are really very small. Like the capital base is very small. What it takes to start is really small, and you look at how easy it is for someone like that to get in, and that's what brings back to the whole idea of, and when you actually rightly mentioned, if you're a citizen here or if you're a citizen back home. So for example, all of that, I don't get to think about that. If I'm in Nigeria and I have an idea and I want to start a business today, if I have my capital, I'm going to start. Like there's nothing stopping me because I am
Okay.
from there, right? Which
Right.
is quite interesting.
Right.
Unlike when you are not there. When I'm here, for example, I can't just wake up some day and say I'm starting this, right?
Yeah, I mean,
do
Yeah.
you understand?
Patrick
So-
wants to say something.
yeah.
yeah, I've been trying to say something.
Oh,
for the
Yeah, I
past-
know.
It's
You
all
have.
good. But I wanted to go back to Vix. I see that we'll go on a
Right,
break
right,
soon,
right.
and I just wanted to lend my point home to say that Vic mentioned something about being a citizen here as opposed to being a citizen home.
Versus
back home.
not as opposed
Yeah,
to.
versus like it's a no-brainer. Isn't the U.S. the most powerful passport in the world?
No, it's one of,
One
but
of the
not
most-
exactly.
Yeah, is it? Well, it's
I
one
don't-
of.
I
I think it's
think
top 3. It has to
It's
be.
top somewhere.
Yes,
up there.
exactly. And it allows you to go, for example, to Europe without a visa and get a visa on arrival, or you can be there for 90
Some
days.
of that
without-
might be changing
Exact-
now too.
Yeah,
though.
but still, like it gives you a
Yeah, I
chance
see
to
what
go
you mean.
work in a
Right,
different environment.
right.
Like it's
Gives
geography
you
does a
access.
lot.
Yeah.
Not to mention
That's too.
yeah, not to mention
Access.
culture. Like different parts of the world give you different cultures, and
Bro.
it's. I mean, we're going on a break shortly, and we're still here,
Yeah,
still
on
awesome
Awesome
radio,
Radio.
and we'll see you after the break.
Hi, my name is Tracy. Thank you for listening to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU.
I'm Dr. Kyle Horner from Carolina Arthritis Center. Living with arthritis or joint pain doesn't have to limit your life. At Carolina Arthritis Center in Greenville, we're Eastern North Carolina's only private, single specialty rheumatology clinic dedicated exclusively to your joint health. Our experienced team offers comprehensive care all under one roof. From consultations and joint injections to on-site laboratory, X-ray, bone density testing, and our specialized infusion suite. No more running around to multiple locations for your arthritis evaluation. When you need expert rheumatology care, choose the specialist who focus solely on conditions like yours every single day. Carolina Arthritis Center, where your mobility and comfort are our main priority. Call 252-321-8474 or visit carolina-arthritis.com to schedule your consultation today. Again, that number is 252-321-8474. Carolina Arthritis Center.
Where your journey to health begins.
Yes, welcome back. We're still live on Awesome Radio, and it's still your favorite weekend crew. Live on Pitt Perspectives, where we share stories, celebrate culture, and inspire community here in Pitt County, here in Eastern North Carolina, from ENC to the world. Yeah, shout out to everyone listening in from around the world. So this is the last stretch, and it's been an amazing conversation, fellas, talking about geography and how it change, it shapes our life. And I think there are so many different ways, this conversation could go. AY is very, very passionate about Nigeria for good reason too. So I will go, talk about the upcoming events around Pitt County, and then hopefully if we have some time, we might, chip in a thing or two. So AY, what do we have?
Yes. All right. So coming up this week, starting today, obviously, we have differently abled fun fair. That is DAFF Speedway. That is happening today, May 31st, by 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Greenville Convention Center. This inclusive event brings together fun games and racing-themed excitement for all abilities.
Yes, the DAFF is spearheaded by Bishop Rosie O'Neill and the Koinonia Church family, and the fair promises inclusive fun, games, and heartwarming community spirit, all with a racing twist. Don't miss it. What else do we have? Yes.
Yeah, we also have Celtic music session, also on May 31st, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at St. Paul's.
St. Paul's,
St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Acoustic musicians of all events are welcome. Come to jam, listen, and enjoy some local music culture.
Yes, whether you're playing or just listening, this is a perfect way to connect through music and enjoy some Celtic culture in the heart of Greenville. Yeah, it's interesting. There's they call it Celtic, but I mean, there's
it's Irish.
Yeah, I think
there's a club, the club actually, the football club, I think in Ireland, they call it Celtic. But I think the culture is called Celtic.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because there's an RA in my building who's Irish, and we had a whole conversation yesterday regarding it. Yeah.
Look at you. I mean, look at the things we find out on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, of course, on Tuesday we have the Greenville United versus Tobacco Road FC game, and it promises to be an amazing time, Yes.
Fun facts. Greenville
Okay.
United has not lost any game that I attended this season. So
That's the same for me. Yeah, that's the same for me. That's the same for me.
So what are you guys insinuating? No, say it. Say
Yes,
it.
that's true. Every game I've gone to, Greenville United has won. No, in fact, even the draw, I was not there. So every win, every game I've attended, we've won.
So what are you guys insinuating? I said to again. So do you mean we should have you guys come to every game, or
if you guys think we're
so what's the correlation? What do you guys do to the players or to the other team?
well, if you want to find out,
Come to the
Keep us-
game.
keep
Come
us
to the game when we're there, and you'll
games.
see the difference there.
You don't even get to
And
see
if-
half
if-
of the game.
if this keeps happening,
Uh-huh.
I'll probably try to monetize it.
Bro, you don't put yourself up there. Don't even go and jinx it for us. And then, God forbid, we lose next game. So, but I mean, hey, come around too, and I think it's a lot of fun too. And I like the idea of trying to. I think this is something we'll deliberately try to do to, get the fans singing the chants with us too, because sometimes it seemed like it's just us, the box
even,
brigade.
even from the what's it called, the Pirates,
Yeah, the
there's
games.
female soccer
Yeah, pirate
games.
soccer.
Yeah, I noticed that the only time we get to engage them is when we do purple and gold. Which
Yeah,
is,
purple gold.
yeah,
Yeah,
which is
and it's a very interesting thing too about geography and how it shapes,
yes,
how
yes,
people do
yes.
things. Like back in Europe, for instance, it's, I mean, people say all sorts of things to the
Do you
players
understand?
and all,
Yeah,
but here you get,
yeah.
told right from the start, make
Maybe,
sure you don't
yeah,
use certain language, make sure
yeah.
you do this, it's like a
Yeah,
very
even if people complaining
sanitized,
that you're being too loud.
yeah, something like that.
Like in the
Yeah.
football pitch,
Yeah,
you're too
something like that.
loud.
Like the drumming is
What's
too
that?
much. Yeah, that's the thing. Again,
Like,
geography.
where else will you be loud? It's not
Well,
in a stadium.
that's a
In a
very
game.
interesting
Yeah,
thing.
people
It's,
find
it's not a church service, bro.
That's, I mean,
I get it. I get it.
right. So hey, let's do some weekly inspiration to close.
Yeah,
Patrick, yeah.
this week's inspiration is simple. We have the place where you stand today might just be the starting point for someone else's dream.
Mm,
Let's keep lifting each other up, celebrating our communities, and recognizing that every town, every voice, every story matters.
yes, like Patrick aptly
Don't
mentioned,
pity Patrick.
every town,
I just
every
remembered I've not
voice,
said that today.
every story matters. And that's it from us today on Pitt Perspectives. Big thanks to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM, 1570 AM WECU, to all our listeners and to those who had wanted to call in and those who would share their stories. Remember, your perspective shapes our future. Your perspective shapes our future.
Yeah, talking
Yeah.
about shaping the future. It's a lot, and I think we've had a very interesting conversation today.
Yeah, I think we probably
Yeah.
could spend an entire hour or two talking
Talking
about all
about
the
this,
different
yeah.
ways
Yeah.
geography
Because we didn't
shapes,
touch on every aspect that we could have. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe we should bring it back. I don't know.
Or maybe
We
we
could bring
should.
it back for a part two. What do y'all think? Let
Yeah,
us know on our
yeah.
social
I think
media
we should
handles.
yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
a part two of how geography shapes our lives in general, and also a big shout out to Carolina Arthritis, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carolina Friday Center. Shout
Yes.
out.
So
All right, that's a wrap from the
sure.
awesome crew at Awesome Radio,
Yeah.
Pit Perspectives.
See you next
See you
week.
next week.
Bye.
I'm Dr. Kyle Horner from Carolina Arthritis Center. Are joint pain and stiffness holding you back? At Carolina Arthritis Center in Greenville, we're here to help you move forward. Our board certified rheumatologists and trained nurse practitioners specialize in diagnosing and treating inflammatory arthritis, lupus, osteoporosis, and other autoimmune conditions. With on site lab testing, digital x rays, bone density scans, and infusion therapy, we provide comprehensive care all under one roof. Since 2001, we've been committed to personalized, compassionate care for patients across eastern North Carolina. Take the first step towards better health today. Call Carolina Arthritis Center at 252 321 8474, 252